There is a white china bowl sitting on the little shelf just inside my kitchen door. It has been sitting there, or one just like it, since before I was born. Most visitors think it is a decoration. What goes in it costs about 15 cents, and it is the reason that my kitchen, where I have fried fish every Friday for 41 years, where onions and cabbage and bacon grease have done their worst 3 times a day, smells like nothing at all right now except the coffee warming on the back of the stove. Your kitchen still smells like Tuesday's supper. Mine does not. Stay with me. My name is Mammi Sarah. I am Amish. I live in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, in a farmhouse kitchen where I cooked for a husband, 8 children, and more grandchildren than I can seat at one table anymore. I have fried scrapple in this room. I have boiled cabbage in this room. I have canned 14 quarts of sauerkraut on a single August afternoon in this room, and if you had walked in the next morning, you would not have known it. In 41 years of plain cooking, heavy cooking, grease and fish and vinegar pickles and all of it, nobody has ever once walked into my kitchen and wrinkled their nose. And I have never in my life bought a can of air freshener. Not one. Today I am going to show you exactly what sits in that bowl, why it sits by the door and not by the stove, what it costs, and how the whole system works, because it is a system, small as it is. And then I am going to tell you the part that should make you a little uneasy, which is that the companies who sell you sprays and plug-in scents and candles with names like Fresh Linen have always known that their products do not remove one single smell from your house. They cover them. They rent you a mask, month after month, and the mask needs refilling forever. The bowl costs 15 cents. Stay with me, and I will show you the whole of it. Let me start with what most folks get wrong, because if you do not understand this, none of the rest will work. A smell is not air. A smell is stuff. When you fry a pan of fish, tiny bits of that fish, tiny droplets of that grease, real little pieces of matter too small to see, rise up on the heat and float around your kitchen and settle down onto everything. Into the curtains, onto the top of the cupboards, onto the ceiling above the stove, into the towel hanging on the oven door. Your kitchen does not smell like fish because of something in the air tonight. It smells like fish because the fish is still there, spread out thin over every surface in the room, and a little of it lifts off again every warm afternoon. Once you understand that, you understand there are only 3 honest things a person can do about a smell. You can let it out the window before it settles. You can take it out of the air while it floats. Or you can clean it off the surfaces where it landed. That is all. Those are the choices. And spraying perfume at it is not one of them. Perfume is just more stuff, sweeter stuff, thrown on top of the old stuff. The English, and I say that with affection, the English have been sold the idea that a strong, pleasant smell means clean. We were raised the other way. Clean has no smell at all. Clean smells like nothing, and nothing is the finest smell a kitchen can wear. This is what we have always done. My mother kept the white bowl on the shelf by the door of the kitchen I grew up in, over in the next township. Her mother kept one in the house before that. Every washing day, and again midweek if there had been frying, my mother would carry the bowl out to the porch, pour it into the flower bed, rinse it at the pump, and fill it fresh. I thought for years it was holy water or some such thing, which shows what a child knows. When I was about 7, I got thirsty at the wrong moment and drank from it, and I found out in one swallow exactly what was in that bowl, and my mother laughed until she had to sit down on the porch step. It was vinegar. Plain white vinegar, the same jug she used for pickling beets. That is the whole secret, and I nearly hate to say it so early in the telling, because it sounds too small to be true. A shallow bowl, about a cup of plain white vinegar, set where the air moves. 15 cents worth. That is what has kept Amish kitchens sweet for 200 years while the rest of the country bought candles. Now let me walk you through the way I actually do it, in order, because the details are what make it work, and the details are what nobody bothers to tell you. You will need a jug of plain white distilled vinegar, the big gallon jug from the bottom shelf of any grocery store, which runs about $3, maybe $4 these days. 1 gallon holds 16 cups. Pour 1 cup into a bowl, and you have used about 15 cents worth, and that cup is going to work for you for 2 or 3 days before it wants changing. The bowl matters more than folks think. You want it shallow and wide, a soup bowl, a pie plate even, not a tall cup. The vinegar works from its surface, where it meets the air, so a wide mouth gives you more working surface from the same 15 cents. A tall, narrow glass of vinegar is mostly vinegar sitting idle in the dark, doing nothing. And now the placement, which is the part of the title that puzzles people. Why by the door? Why not next to the stove where the smells are made? Because smells ride on moving air, and the air in a kitchen moves through the doorway. Every time that door opens, every time the house breathes, the air of the kitchen passes the little shelf by the door, and the vinegar meets it there like a toll gate. Set the bowl in the path of the moving air, and every smell in the room comes to the bowl on its own. Set it in a dead corner, and it only ever cleans the dead corner. My mother did not know a word of the science, but she knew where the draft ran in her kitchen, the way she knew her own children's footsteps, and the bowl sat in the draft. Find where the air moves in your kitchen, the doorway, the pass-through, the window you crack open, and that is where your bowl lives. The everyday bowl is the heart of it, but there are 4 more pieces to the system, and together they take me maybe 10 minutes a week. When I fry fish, or a big pan of onions, or the day I do donuts for church, I set a second bowl of vinegar right on the counter beside the stove before I even light the burner, and I leave it sitting there overnight. The heavy smells are caught the same night they are made, close to where they are made, before they can spread out and settle in. In the morning, I pour both bowls into the drain, which does the drain a kindness too, and fill them fresh. Second piece. If a smell has gotten ahead of me, if the whole downstairs smells like the cabbage I boiled at noon, I put a small pot on the back of the stove with 2 cups of water and a good long splash of vinegar, and I let it barely simmer for 10 or 15 minutes. The steam carries the vinegar up into the air and through the rooms, and it takes the cabbage with it when it settles. Third piece. Once a week, on Saturday morning, I wipe down the wall behind the stove, the front of the range hood if you have one, and the tops of the nearby cupboards with a rag dipped in half vinegar and half warm water. Remember what I told you at the start. The smell is stuff, and the stuff lands on surfaces, and a greasy film on the wall behind a stove will breathe old bacon into a kitchen for months if you let it sit. Fourth piece, the drain itself. A kitchen drain grows a smell of its own, and no bowl on any shelf will fix a sour drain, because the drain is a source, not a leftover. Every Saturday I send down a handful of baking soda, follow it with a cup of vinegar, let it fizz and mutter to itself for 10 minutes, and then pour the whole boiling kettle after it. 15 cents more, and the drain stays as quiet as the curtains. Now let me say a word about the closed places, because a kitchen has 2 kinds of air, and they want 2 different helpers. The open room, where the air moves, belongs to the vinegar bowl. But the icebox, the bread cupboard, the cake safe, the shut drawer, those hold still air, closed air, and in a shut box, the vinegar has nowhere to carry itself and will just sit there smelling like a pickle jar with the lid off. For the closed places we use the other worker from the same low shelf, plain baking soda. An open dish of it at the back of the icebox, changed every 2 months, drinks up the sour and the onion and the fish quietly, the way sand drinks water. My mother kept a little tin of it in the bread cupboard and swore the bread kept its own true smell a day longer for it. The 2 of them together, vinegar for the moving air, soda for the still air, cover every corner a kitchen has, and both of them together cost less than 1 scented candle. And while I am at it, let me catch 2 liars for you, because when a woman tells me her kitchen smells and her bowl is fresh, it is nearly always one of these 2. The first liar is the cutting board. Onion and garlic sink down into the knife scars of a wooden board and breathe back out of them for days, no matter how you wash the surface. Scatter coarse salt over the board, scrub it hard with the cut face of half a lemon, rinse it, and stand it on its edge to dry, and that board will be sweet again by supper. 15 cents more, if that. The second liar, and this is the one nobody ever suspects, is the dish rag. A rag that has wiped a week of counters and slept damp in the bottom of the sink every night is the single smelliest thing in most kitchens, and every swipe of it paints that smell right back onto every surface you believe you are cleaning. Boil your rags once a week in a pot of water with a good glug of vinegar, 10 minutes at a roll, and hang them outside in the sun to dry if the day allows it. A rag that dries in sunlight comes back smelling like the day itself. My grandmother used to say you could judge a kitchen by its rag before you ever judged it by its floor, and she was right, as she generally was. Now the science in plain clothes, because there is real science here, and you deserve to know it. Vinegar is a weak acid. The learned folks call it acetic acid, and that is the last time I will say it. The worst kitchen smells, and I mean the very worst of them, fish above all, are made of little floating things that are the opposite of an acid. The fish smell is a family of compounds that lean alkaline, and when an acid meets an alkaline, the two of them join and cancel, the way an argument ends when both parties finally marry their complaints together. What they become has no smell. Not a hidden smell, not a covered smell. No smell. That is why the fish counterman rinses his hands in vinegar, and why my grandmother wiped her cutting board with it after herring, and why a bowl of it parked in the air path of a kitchen quietly unmakes odors all day long, molecule by molecule, while a scented candle just shouts over them. And the baking soda, since I have given it work in your icebox, leans the opposite way to vinegar. So between the two of them, the sharp smells and the sour smells are both spoken for, each caught by its opposite. The vinegar smell itself, and you will notice it faintly for the first while does its work and then finishes. Within the hour, the vinegar note fades, and it takes the supper smells along with it. Cooks in professional kitchens have washed their stations with vinegar since before either of us was born. This is not folklore that wants believing. It is chemistry that was never advertised. But I have to be honest with you here, because honesty is worth more than a tidy story. And anybody who tells you a 15-cent bowl fixes, everything is selling you something, even if what they are selling is only their own video. The bowl handles the smells that cooking leaves behind. It will not fix a source. If there is a potato gone soft and dark in the bottom of the bin, the bowl cannot help you, and the potato must be found and carried out. If the trash wants emptying, empty it. If the drain is sour, treat the drain. A bowl of vinegar is a fine housekeeper but a poor undertaker, and it cannot bury what is still lying in the open. And know this too. For the first half hour after you set out a fresh bowl, your kitchen will smell faintly of pickles. It passes, and what it leaves behind is nothing, but I will not pretend the pickle half hour is not there. My husband used to call Saturday morning the pickle hour, and he was not wrong. One more limit. A big open room, one of those kitchens the English build now that flows straight into the sitting room with no door at all, wants 2 bowls, one at each end where the air moves, because 1 cup of vinegar cannot stand toll gate over half a house. So why were you never told? A cup of vinegar on a shelf, 15 cents. Your grandmother likely knew it, and somewhere between her kitchen and yours, the knowing was misplaced. Well, think about who makes money when your kitchen smells and you believe the answer comes in an aerosol can. The companies that sell home scents, the sprays, the plug-in warmers, the wax melts, the candles, the size of coffee cans. That is an industry that takes in billions of dollars every single year. And I want you to notice something about every one of those products. Every one of them runs out. The plug-in wants a refill every month. The candle burns down. The spray can empties. None of them removes a smell, mind you. They lay a louder smell on top, and when the loud smell fades, your kitchen is exactly as it was, plus the bill. And have you ever noticed the names they choose? Fresh linen, out of a bottle that has never been within a mile of a clothesline. Mountain air, mixed in a factory somewhere flat. Clean cotton, sprayed across a room where the actual cotton curtains are still quietly holding Tuesday's bacon. They are selling you words for feelings, and the words cost them nothing to make. A candle that costs $28 burns about 40 hours, which works out to 70 cents an hour, paid to cover a smell that 15 cents would have removed. Now, nobody can sell you a refill for a bowl of vinegar. There is no monthly plan for a gallon jug that costs $3 and lasts 2 months. I do not believe there is a roomful of men somewhere plotting to keep vinegar a secret. I do not believe in that kind of conspiracy. It is something quieter and a little worse. It is an agreement nobody had to sign, that the simple thing will never be advertised because there is no living in it. The loud thing gets the television time. The quiet thing sits on a shelf by a door in Lancaster County, working. I will tell you when I am gladdest of all this, and that is Church Sunday. We hold church in our homes, turn about among the families, and twice a year it is my turn, which means close to 200 people in this house, and after the service, the long tables, the coffee, the bean soup, the red beet eggs, the pies, every bit of it cooked in this one kitchen across 2 days of preparing. The English would rent a hall for such a thing and hire a crew to clean it after. By Monday noon, with the windows given their hour, the bowls changed twice, the little pot given its 10 minutes of simmering, and every surface wiped down with the vinegar rag, this kitchen smells like nothing at all again, as though 200 plates had never passed through it. That is the system proving itself at full weight. If it can swallow church Sunday whole, it will not be troubled by your Tuesday fish. I will tell you what my mother said about it once, because it has stayed with me for 60 years. She said a kitchen should smell like the truth. If bread is baking, let it smell like bread. If nothing is baking, let it smell like nothing, and let nobody be fooled either way. A house that smells like a meadow out of a bottle is telling a small fib all day long, she said, and the woman who keeps it has to buy her fibs by the dozen. We keep our houses plain for reasons that go deeper than money, but I will say the money part plainly anyway, because it is real. A person who can keep her own kitchen sweet with a jug from the pickling shelf does not need to be rescued every month at the store. That is one less string on you. The old people knew 100 of these small freedoms, and every one we forget, somebody sells back to us at a markup. So here is your plan for this weekend, and it is a short one. Buy 1 gallon of plain white distilled vinegar, $3 or so. Find the place in your kitchen where the air moves, the doorway, the pass-through, and set a wide, shallow bowl there with 1 cup of vinegar in it, 15 cents on duty. Change it every 2 or 3 days and pour the old cup down the drain where it keeps working. The next time you fry something with a loud voice, fish or onions or bacon, set a second bowl by the stove that evening and leave it overnight. Saturday morning, wipe the wall behind the stove with half vinegar and half water. Send soda and vinegar and a boiling kettle down the drain. Boil your rags while the stove is hot and scrub the cutting board with salt and half a lemon before you put the broom away. Set a dish of soda in the icebox while you are at it. 10 minutes a week, all told, and your kitchen will smell like nothing at all, which is to say, like a kitchen kept by somebody who knows. Tell me in the comments below which smell is the stubborn one in your kitchen, the fish, the bacon grease, the cabbage, or that drain that sulks no matter what you do. I read every one of these, and the stories you all send back are the best part of my week. Next time I am going to tell you why Amish women never buy air freshener at all, not even for the front room, and I will show you the little pot that simmers on the back of my stove on visiting days, the one that makes a whole house smell like home, using 3 things that are sitting in your pantry right now. You would never guess the third one. Until then, keep your bowl filled, keep your windows willing, and remember, the people who built this country with their hands knew things we are only just starting to remember.